There we go. Working now?
Okay, it is working. We still need to talk right into our microphones. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. And the land acknowledgement, I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. Approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by Lynn Clegus, that the rules of procedure order be amended to move delegations, presentations up in the agenda to follow number 6 deferred items, that the agenda for the regular council meeting held the 14th day of February 2023 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments?
No, there are not.
So as presented. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof of any item on the agenda by any member of council? Seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Motion moved by Craig and seconded by Susan that the minutes of the regular council meeting held January 24th, 2023, and the special budget meeting held January 19th be approved as presented. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, mayor's remarks. Some short remarks from the mayor. Haven't done much except meet with you folks in the last 2 weeks, so that's easy enough to report.
Where's the little one?
Right here. I have a notice to read to you, and it's notice of a special meeting, and it's a revised one. Take notice that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac will be conducting a special meeting of council on February 22nd, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. for purposes of training members of council regarding the proposed fire master plan risk assessment and firefighter certification pursuant to section 239(3)-1. The training session will be closed to the public. The location for this meeting has been changed to the Station 3 Fire Hall, 1020 Wagner Road, Charbot Lake, and the time has been changed to 3:30 p.m. The meeting will not be streamed via our YouTube channel, and that's dated yesterday. The only other thing I'd like to mention is this weekend is Heritage Festival. Unfortunately, it's going to be warm weather, so it may affect ice or snow things that we're doing, but I think it looks like a very good agenda. There's stuff happening in Arden and Charbot Lake. So please, if you can, come out and support all these folks that are putting the work into it. Should be a good time. Other than that, Deputy Mayor, do you have anything to add?
No, but I did have a question about the first item about the report. Why is that being done as a training session? Why can't that be done as an open meeting?
Because the amount of the maps that have to be posted up on the wall, you're not going to be, if you live stream it, you're not going to be able to show them to the public, because they're going to be, there must be at least 8 or 10 maps that is part of the training for council with the fire master plan, because what they have done is the areas that where the coverage is. And I said, if you do it up in here and have it open to the public here, they wouldn't be able to see it.
And it will come to council before any decisions are made on it.
That's
So
right. This is
the public will have a look at it. This is just for us to be able to go through
Understand
it,
it
ask
first.
questions, and be trained on what a risk assessment is really in the first place.
for the new.
So we'll get to look at it there, and then it will come again to council.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because council would have to pass it for sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. We are at deferred items, continuation of budget discussions, which is why we're all here early today.
Yes.
Michael.
So I will take council quickly through all the documents that I gave you again. I apologize for the confusion and the page numbers going out, being off from each other, but we're going to start at page 52. But again, the first document is the budget presentation. It really just has the updated numbers which we're at a 2.9% municipal levy. And I added in the county estimated 8.9%, which means that for every 100,000 in assessment dollars, it's $33. So that presentation is really for council. You can look at now, or you can look at later. We're going to be going through the numbers. So I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. The way that we've moved things around since we last met, the reserves would now be sitting at about 4.2 million at the end of the year. The recreation needs study has been removed, and salary and benefits increase is now down to 349,000. So that's the first document. The second document, which I'm excited to show council, which I tried to bring before, is the way that council is going to see the capital projects moving forward. So it has a lot more detail and a lot more information in it for council to read ahead of time. And that would be for every capital project that we do. So again, you can take that home, read through it. If you have any questions, let me know. The next piece of paper, which kind of looks like grid lines, is I believe it was Councillor Middleton was looking for what projects were initially input, what projects are still there, and what projects we're intending on doing in the future years. Again, it doesn't guarantee anything. Council can prove different things than what is in the plan. The years on 2024 and to the right are not completed in its entirety. They're just items really that we have moved over the year. So hopefully over this next year, department heads and myself will be able to fill that in a little bit more accurately. I'm just going to stop in case there's any questions before I go too fast.
Give folks just a few minutes to go through it. Just briefly, in case there's some, it'll take some sitting down and figuring out. Okay, any immediate questions come to mind? After you've had a chance to go through it, we can always get Michael to answer any questions.
Yes. Okay, so the next page in nice bright blue is a primer from Municipal Finance Officers Association on reserves and reserve funds. Their purpose, their reason for having them. It's just a education material for council to take home and read at bedtime.
Okay. So, Michael, you made a comment about reserves, and you said with the money that's been brought into the budget, we still have that 4.8 million?
Yes, at the end of the year, we would have 4.297, I believe.
Okay. And that's after all of the reserves are applied that are in this budget?
Correct. So we are putting money into reserves. We're pulling money out of reserves. That net, I believe, is around 2.4, 2.3. And that would leave us with the 4.297. So we're pulling out a net of 2.2 million from reserves right now.
So part of that was raised for projects prior
Correct.
that didn't get done. So those are a natural netting out to zero.
Yes, the reserves should be used to fund capital projects.
Okay. Any other questions? Philip?
So Michael, so we're not, the reserves we're using are only for capital projects, or are we using those funds to also cover operating expenses?
There are some operating expenses that are being covered from what we're pulling from reserves.
And then maybe a theoretical question, but if we're pulling 2.2 million from reserves this year, and we don't increase taxes this year, and we don't increase taxes next year, we'd have to pull an additional $2.2 million out.
Forgetting my manners, sorry, through Madam Mayor to Councillor Smith. Yes, if we don't raise taxes, we either have to reduce operating or capital expenditures to not pull from reserves. I mean, you can raise the tax levy, you can pull from loans, or you can pull from reserves. Right now, we don't have a whole lot of other options to raise revenues. We have some user fees and they don't represent a big amount of the revenue that we bring in each year. So yes, if we continue doing the same number of capital projects and continue operations on the same way, then we're going to either have to pull from reserves, take out a loan, or raise the tax levy.
Or stop doing capital?
Or stop doing capital, and capital are the assets that we use to deliver the services to the residents. The asset management plan may say that that road is completely used its life. It's still going to be there. It may be rougher.
One thing is with the capital. But the one thing with the capital is the gas tax. That's what you usually use the money for that, correct, Michael?
Yeah, so the gas tax, which it was previously known as the Canada Community Benefit Fund, I believe now, is normally used for road projects. The Ontario Community Infrastructure Formula Funding, which is very appreciated from the province as well, we have always historically used for road projects because there's never a shortage. The Canada Community Benefit Fund can be used for other projects, fire hall, recreation programs. I'd have to look at the list, but again, historically, we've used it for public works, for road projects.
So I guess just through this budget process, it's really highlighted the fact that, you know, we've heard it a number of times that we need to look at our financial situation, and this is making it very clear that, you know, if we don't change what we're doing in 3 years, we're going to be in a very tight spot that we have no option but to pass it on to the ratepayer. So I don't know how we continue to move forward and not consider the service levels, staffing levels, and all those things that go into the budget.
Well, and I honestly think one of the ways of being in a better position is, one, if we have to meet a financial commitment for a grant, we don't apply for it. And I think the other thing is we need to get our properties reassessed in this community, in all the communities. 2016 value doesn't make sense. So
But you're still
impact.
going to the same people to get the same amount of tax, or in that case, we're asking them to pay more.
Well, if the assessment goes up, our tax rate will go down to match it. We're not going to say, okay, now we can spend $1 million more.
Someone's paying more though, because the value went up.
Yeah.
So, Madam Mayor, the new assessment obviously increases the revenue that we get, but you're right, when the assessment goes up, if our tax dollar needs stay the same, the tax rate should drop equally. If assessment doubled, the tax rate should drop in half.
Like we have properties that are probably worth $1.5 million that are paying $9,000 a year, and they probably should be paying close to 20. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense when you look around the area as to what assessments are. They're just don't make sense. Anyway, we're not going to fix that today, but you're right. We have to really tighten our belts. And my prediction, and I think your prediction, was that we need to be very careful or we're going to end up in a deficit position at the end of 2023.
2023 will be a new year. 2022 will definitely be a deficit position.
2022.
Correct.
Coming in.
So historically, we have always taken the that year's surplus deficit and put it into the next year. New information has come to light to me that we can actually put it in that 1 year, so that then we can look at each year historically or easier on its own than blending the years together, which has always been a issue.
So again,
So that if we end up in a deficit position or a surplus position at the end of any given year,
Right.
that will be pulled or put into reserves based on our surplus deficit policy in that fiscal year.
but what I hear you saying is in 2023, we are going to have to deal with a deficit from 2022.
We're going to put that into 2022 so that we won't have to worry about that in the following year.
Okay.
Auditors will be doing,
Yes.
because the auditors haven't done the final audit yet, so.
No, we haven't done that yet, so we don't know a number,
For
but I believe that
2022.
we'll be in a deficit position. And the main reason is because of transferring the surplus from 2021, which again throws it off.
Okay, there is mud. All right, Craig.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. So Michael, you say we're pulling 2.2 million from reserves to operate 2023. But some of that money was carried over from 2022 capital programs that didn't get completed.
Correct.
What is that number of the 2022 work?
So through
that's
Madam
carried
Mayor,
over, do you know what I mean?
yeah, so through Madam Mayor to Councillor Middleton, it's around that $650,000 mark.
Okay. All right, where do you want to go next?
So the next first legal size paper is just a summary of where we're at. Just again, updated numbers for council.
So now we're going to page,
Well, just if I can, the very last document that you'll have says at the very top of it, version to version adjustments. That is again, just an updated document to show council where we've made adjustments plus or minus. And you don't have to look at that right now. It's just in the same format as the budget appears. So in that second last document at the top, it says 1A, operating and capital budget report for presenting council, page break fixed. That one, we're starting at page 52.
Okay. That was a good year in 1952. All right, and where are we starting on this page?
So we're starting with a quick update on the road situation.
Okay, so we left in the 350, the surfacing of Westport Road 763.35. The pavement preservation program is at 235,690. And Matthew Street at 25,000 and Arden Road at 579.17. Questions or comments? Oh,
Page
sorry,
52.
page 52.
It's got to three different.
Okay. I guess the one question came up the last time was the 25,000 for Matthew Street. Bill, you had a comment on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My comment was just painting the road, which Mr. Myers says is not proper. But do we even need a crosswalk? As there's no sidewalks down that way anyway.
So typically what happens with a decision of a previous council, if you want to change that decision, then you need to do a notice of motion to bring it back to the table.
And I can certainly help and the council members with that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, that's Public Works is recommending just to leave the 25,000 in the 2023 budget. And to bring this back to the new council after the budget's approved for a whole separate report and a plan moving forward with Matthew Street. But my one suggestion today would be to, if council and yourself were to take that recommendation, or to make a plan for that 25,000 if it doesn't get spent, just to make a plan for that for 2023.
Okay, Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That wasn't a motion. That was just a thought on his request for $25,000. I'll go with what's proper.
Okay, so as Tyson says, we can leave it in there. It's not going to affect one way or the other, and we will have an additional discussion on this before it gets spent. Is that fair? Okay,
I think that's the best route to take.
all right. Good. So page 53. The Salt Dome, the tarp is in for 100,000. And now capital projects. Did we take those out? Or these are what we left in? $50,000 road study? Over there, which one?
I was actually on the next one, Madam Mayor, but the AVL. Is that something that needs to be done this year, or is that something that could wait and we can use what we currently have?
Is the AVL?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Smith, the AVL is, we're just trying to take steps. Right now, I feel like our current AVL provider isn't keeping us legal. I don't think that we're, the amount of downtime we have with the current AVL, I think we're liable for a lawsuit. And our new AVL, we're trying to, this isn't the cost of switching over completely. It's the cost of taking steps to move forward in the right direction, to be completely legal and to work towards trying to get our better tracking done with our how much sand and salt we put out on the road, and the plow up and plow down controls. So it's investing in more modern technology so we don't get too far behind and too far out of date.
Do you want to just explain what the AVL stands for?
Sorry, council. I thought I did last meeting. It's automatic vehicle locators. It's GPS, but now the new technology is starting to integrate with your plow controls. So you can see it records if your plow is up, plow is down, if you're spreading material on the road. And it also provides data directly into our asset manager as well in city. It can integrate with citywide. So
Okay, Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. Myers. Does that $50,000, is that the cost of the equipment only, or does that include a subscription for the year? And sorry, if it does, what is the yearly subscription if we pay one?
through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett, that is just the upfront cost of installation. Our operating budget, I'm not going to try to flip back to it right now, but our operating budget had just a minor increase. So the monthly subscription is the same price as what we're currently paying, but there's been a few vehicles that were replaced that don't have our old AVL in anticipation. Hopefully we get a new one. So that's why it increased a little bit, but monthly subscription is the same. Operating budget doesn't change much.
hey, Nikki,
Sorry. We kind of got away from Councillor Smith's question. Simple answer, no, not an absolute need. It's just me trying to keep us current and trying to keep us getting too far out of date, but it's not an absolute need for our 2023 budget. Just something we're recommending.
Bill? Oh, sorry, Nikki was first.
I thought we had decided to not do the road study this year. And I thought also that the school zone signs had been taken out. So that was my question.
That's what I remember too. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Councillor Gowdy, sorry, I thought we were still on the same topic. Mr. Myers might want to point out too that AVL will prevent insurance costs when they can prove the sanding and how often, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, very important. So we had taken out the $40 for the school zone.
And I thought so as well, Madam Mayor. I must admit that I apologize.
Okay, and the road study at 50,000. Do you really think it's going to be a $50,000 bill for that?
I had it pulled up, but I'll go off my memory, but the last time it was tendered in 2019, the bids were anywhere from $8,000 to $70,000. Unfortunately, we went with the lowest cost one, and that proved to fail. So I recommend budgeting at least that.
And just for the new folks, what's the primary information in those road studies that we're looking for?
The primary information is road condition. That's the number one, is getting a professional to do a road condition index for the entire network for the whole township. It also takes into account traffic volume to help with making predictions for the future, and it helps Public Works to provide a 1 to 5 year plan and a 5 to 10 year plan. So it's not just public needs and public what the public requests us to do. It's longer term planning, and more modern road need studies incorporate some preservation strategies for the future of our specific roads as well.
Okay, Nikki?
Tyson, the previous road study, when we had that done, the $8,000 one, we didn't really follow it. Secondly, when we had it done, we included buying the equipment that would give us road counts going in the future. So we've been using that equipment to give you current road counts, volume counts there. And if we do this study, is it going to be followed? Like you just said, you'd want it to show what roads the conditions are and to do planning and not use public pressure to pick your roads. So convince me that this is a need.
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy, the traffic counter did not get utilized. That was before my time. It's quite dated technology by the time I started here. As for the the road counting is, they'll do the entire, road traffic count, average annual daily traffic. And with no staff commitment after that, that's what we're paying them for professionals to do that. As for the 1 to 5 and then the 5 to 10 year plan, I hear you with what you're saying. It is council ultimately, like Public Works, historically has presented what has to be done according to the road needs study. And it's typically rejected by council, unfortunately, because of money constraints. But I hear what you're saying is it's hard to spend that much if we know we can't follow it, but I think it will help us prioritize better. I think it will help us prioritize. So I do think it needs to be done.
Okay. And it's only as good as we receive it as being the factual information and not our hearts as to where we want it to go.
I think also something that's different. I hope that my energy and experience and knowledge working with the consultant to give them better data and providing them more services, like pairing up an engineering student with them, pairing up NOAA with them, and being available, especially on a slower year for construction, us being able to work a little more hand in hand with them, to take our knowledge and council's knowledge and incorporate it with that, rather than just turning it over to them and letting them totally just come in here blind, right? So I have a good feeling that it's well, every municipality does one every 2 or 3 years, and I think if we had a better road needs study in 2019, we wouldn't be in this position. But I think we've got a chance here to turn things around.
I think the other thing too, Tyson, is for council, it is a budgeting tool. Because that way you've got the conditions of all the roads and and the certain years that the things need to be done. So that helps council as well.
Okay, Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Have you done any research yet on, you said the last time it was the ranges of the price to do the study was 8,000 to 70,000. Have you done any kind of research on, is that still an accurate number, or you're just hoping that 50,000 is a good amount?
No, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Clagus, I've been in contact with other municipalities. I even discussed with other townships to do it jointly as a joint tender, but it didn't seem since the consultant would have to separate everything so much anyways, it wasn't gonna be any cost savings. But no, I'm pretty confident that number is gonna get us there.
Okay, so we're leaving it in or taking it out? Craig?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Tyson, like, we opened up saying how we have to cut everything we can. Like, do we not travel the roads enough and be able to make own judgments on this through the township staff and to determine what roads are the worst? And like,
I would just take a look at the condition that our roads are in right now, and I think that's your answer.
that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't think I need somebody to give me a report of what roads need work. Because you say they're gonna come back, they're gonna give us a big wish list, and we're gonna sit there and say, we don't got the money to do it all anyways.
Sure. If I may, Madam Mayor, Councilor Middleton, my hope is that this roads needs study will be better. It'll be more detailed information that the citywide software program will take into account in the risk analysis and give us an unbiased opinion as to what roads needs to be done, regardless of where it is in the township. Because the decision criteria module that Municipal Modernization Fund granted the province allowed us to do last year and is still finishing up, we'll take our 2 million, 5 million, whatever the budget is, and say, based on that limited budget, here are the roads that we think needs to be done. And here's going to be the state of your assets over the next umpteen number of years. If we put it up to 2.5 million or whatever, here's going to be the state. So we will show council at some point, hopefully in this new year, this tool. And I think that will bring things to a little bit more to light, if that helps.
Yeah, I understand that, Michael. I just think this tool is gonna bring us something that we're gonna sit there and say, well, it's very interesting what it says to do, but we can't afford to do what it says to do. So I mean, if it comes back and says you do $5 million worth of road work every year, we're gonna sit here as council and say, we can't do that. So now we just have to use our own brains and prioritize through the township staff and us of what roads get done. That's all I'm saying. Is that what we're just gonna end up into again?
That's a tough one to answer, Madam Mayor. The road needs study is, I think that we need to look beyond what we're currently doing right now to try to think more long-term on, and I'm hoping to avoid what your worry, Councillor Middleton, is trying to give the consultants more reasonable parameters to work within for what fits with our township. The last road needs study, for example, it did say pave Westport Road because it was done in that study that's what's going to save us more money long-term. If we can give them more realistic parameters to say, yeah, we're never going to have the money to pave Westport Road within the historical budgets we've been working without some kind of grant. I think one strategy that I'd like to present them with is, let's just continue using Westport as an example. Let those consultants know when they present their draft or when they're getting in those preliminary phases to say, don't even think about presenting any of our roads right now that are not asphalt. Don't think about presenting them, but we'll engineer them for, if we ever get a grant, we can pave a road like Westport Road. We can pave a road like Arden from 7 to the village, but just giving them more realistic parameters to work within. I think it gives us actual real data, and there will be not so much ward to ward discussion on which road should be the cottagers want to get done sooner.
Okay, Susan, Bill, and then Philip.
Thank you, Tyson, and also thank you, Michael, for your explanation. I can see that a road study, and I read the previous road study, and but my hope would be that when we were discussing microsurfacing Road 38 versus the work on the Arden Road, that we would have avoided that discussion and we would have had a plan that we could follow, that the risk would be clarified for us.
And that's only if council accepts what comes back in that study and looks at the facts from an individual who has no skin in the game as to what gets done and accepts that. And sometimes it doesn't feel right that they say this one needs to be done. And we're thinking, but I've got 3 in my district that needs more than that, but it is what it is. There's no sense paying for a study if you're not going to accept what the study has come up with.
And I'd like to add one more point too, and I don't want to sugarcoat any of this presentation to think that a road need study is going to come back and talk about all the brilliant revitalizations we're going to be able to do. The data you get from a road need study, when you combine the pavement condition index and the average annual daily traffic, also gives us supporting documentation to say, no, that road has to stay within our budget. That road has to stay failing for another 4 years for us to get our full value out of it. That kind of info. So.
Okay, Bill, and then Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. McGovern. I just want to understand, the better prepared, the better documented, if we do continue work, the more money we're going to get back from the province? Is that basically what you're saying in the?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Everett, no. We will get what we get. I remember sitting at this table talking about the asset management and the software, and I think the province will see that we're better prepared. But a lot of the money that comes to us comes through our fiscal circumstance, which in a sense is sad that it's in our favor right now. And pulling more from our reserves, I think will put it more in our favor. But I can't tell. They changed the formulas this past year from using historical to using current replacement values. It's enabled us to get a little bit more money, but would that money have come anyways? I'm not 100% sure. I do think that we need to find other revenue sources, whether that be a 1% HST increase, whether that be short-term rentals. Fully relying on the tax levy the way it is not a great way to live.
And just to add to that, Bill, if you have a factual study, you have information to back up your grant applications. They use parts of that, so it does help there. Philip.
not to pile on too much, but to Councillor Middleton and Councillor Irwin's comments, you know, we know the majority of our roads are in rough shape, and we spent a lot of time deliberating over, are we going to do pavement preservation on a 35 to $40 million road? And we opted to do Arden Road, even when the recommendation from staff was, we want to do the pavement preservation. So I'm struggling with the idea that, yes, let's do a study, which will contain a lot of good information, but we're still going to make decisions at this table that are going to contradict what that study says.
Go ahead.
I think
Tyson.
the ultimate goal would be to take that study, put some, have a better, give them better parameters, have a better working relationship with staff to come up with something a little more realistic, and get council to agree to a 5-year plan. So we don't have to do this for 4 years in a row, and that we can map out a 5-year capital roads plan with a 5-year capital preservation plan. So, and I don't think we can do that without a proper road needs study.
Okay, and I think the other thing to add to that is we have to look at the municipality as a whole and not as separate districts. The roads go in and out of every district and whatever. Okay, so what is the feeling about the $50,000 study?
And we can do it as a resolution. And that way we hold.
In or out?
You want to do, you might as well read it up.
Oh, you want, here,
That we
all right.
remove the roads need study from the capital project. Public Works capital project.
capital budget, right?
Yes. In the amount of 50,000.
Okay, I have a motion moved by Lynn and seconded by Bill that we remove the roads needs study from the budget, from the capital budget of $50,000. All those in,
Remove it.
remove it. That's because it wasn't written. Okay, all those in favor of removing it? 1, 2, 3, 4. All those in favor of keeping it? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Five.
5. It's carried, so it's in. We better use it once we get it.
That was defeated.
No, 5, there was 5 yes.
Dennis Roads needs money from the budget, so, okay.
5 of us said yes.
Yes, and 3, 4 said no, okay.
Yeah. Oh, so it's out, yes.
It's out,
So,
it's defeated.
No, you just put it here.
It's in, so
You just voted on it.
remove roads, it's got that, remove the roads need study from the capital budget of 50,000. So that means you removed it out of the budget, but it didn't pass. It was defeated.
oh, it was defeated,
Defeated, not
yes,
carried.
yeah, yeah,
it didn't feel like-
right. So it's
Yeah.
defeated, so it's in the budget. Ooh,
She had checked off carried.
I'll be so glad when we get out of roads.
Can I make one more point on, I just pulled up the road needs study. Westport Road, so this is in the 2019 1 to 5. I don't want council thinking that we haven't followed it at all and that we've totally thrown it by the wayside. Is that Westport Road? Yes, we couldn't pave it, but we've got a plan that this year so far to resurface it. Henderson Road, the majority of that we've a good majority of the Henderson Road we've worked on. Crow Lake Road, we've except for the village, we've been able to replace. Second Lake Road, that was a bit of a strange one. We've done work there, but that was a gravel road, and we're not gonna waste time on the gravel roads in this road needs study. We know how to maintain our gravel roads. We know we're not turning any of them to tar and chip anytime soon. And Arden Road is the last one on the 1 to 5. So we've done okay. I don't need to read the 5 to 10, but Oak Flats, 509 Ardoc, there's Elizabeth Street, there's lots on there that we have done well at, so.
Good. Okay, where do we move to from now? Where,
I would say just keep going down the way.
I thought we did equipment. This is equipment loan, 152,000 and loan interest, so 200,000.
Yeah, so that'll be completed this year.
Okay. And Crow Lake Road loan is 244,396.
Correct.
And loan for,
It's a loan that we took out in 2021 and the dollar amounts that are put in are as per the repayment schedule.
okay. And then there's the transfer from reserves of 3 million and transfers to other funds of 1,970,000. And Public Works transfer of 1,246,368. And capital reserves, Public Works, that's all those
That's the
numbers
revenues.
there. Page 54. Okay, insurance, village project, Fed CA revenue, 128,000. What is that, Tyson? That money that came in at the end of that project?
I'll have to, that'd be me, Madam Mayor. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure why that's still sitting there unless that was something we'd put in 2023 and didn't catch this year.
Okay, so there's a little question mark there. All right, streetlights. Contracted services, hydro, $22,000. Waste management. Anything there? Bags, recycling contract, metals and goods, 153,780. Tipping fees, 2,000. And more tipping fees at 15,000. Why the separate revenue? Different disposal sites?
Sites for the two different tipping fees.
That number doesn't
Oh.
look right.
The,
The 15,000 is, I believe that's the recycling waste revenue.
Diversion, the diversion money again.
It says fee
Let
tipping.
me look. And it is one, sorry, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Kelsey, one says Crow Lake and the other one very likely is Olden because we weren't accepting tipping fees at any other site than
Okay.
Olden. That's why.
Okay, so total waste management revenue is 170,760.
so, sorry if I didn't, if that's what that is, Michael, sorry if I didn't catch that before, but we should not expect any tipping fee revenues other than just bag revenues at the Crow Lake site.
Okay, so I'll just make that to 0.
That's the $2,000.
Correct.
Okay. All right, page 50. Oh, sorry, Bill, didn't see you.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. Myers. There is one tipping fee at Crow, and that is mattresses.
That would be I believe that would be all included with our, I'm not sure what Michael's got it called, Kimco or metal, one of the metal. It's a Kimco that picks those up, so.
Correct, but we pay Kimco to haul them, but the residents pay us to keep them. So it is still an income.
For sure, it's a revenue. I'm not sure if it goes to,
It's likely going there.
okay, sorry, my bad.
So it's in that 2,000.
I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. All right, next page, page 55. Yes, go ahead, Philip. Oh, Nikki.
I have a bunch of questions on 55, if that's all right.
Okay, anybody else on 54? We're moving to 55. Okay.
Okay. Advertising, promotion materials, conventions, communications, mileage expense and training. It might seem like not very much, but we didn't spend any money in it last year and there's dollar amounts in all of it this year.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy, we had a pretty similar to other training expenses. We had a pretty slow year for a couple years through COVID with training, conventions and anything like that. We've got a little more stability with the wayside attendants and I'm hoping to get them a little more involved this year.
Okay, advertising, communications and mileage.
Advertising stays up for in case Kingston area recycling or the industry shifts and we need to totally revamp all the signs all of a sudden or anything like that. If streams change and we have to buy new signage or windstorm takes out all our signs or something like that for advertising. If something changes in the industry and I need to adjust the streams, I also need to do a lot of newspaper articles and stuff like that, newspaper postings and everything like that. Communications. Have to check with Michael on what ends up getting charged there. Both the tenants have a iPhone and data plan for that. Not sure why nothing.
Where did you see travel, Nikki? Oh, there we go.
You know,
729.
just before we get to mileages there for communications, I'm looking at the actuals. I'm guessing that must probably is just getting charged to Public Works, the phone and the data plan. So that might be actually something we can remove. That might be a good catch. Because I know we do, it's not very separate when we get those phones from the county. It's like whoever a nicer phone gets to whoever needs it at the time. So and for
Would training be less than 2,300?
sorry, just got to jump back up to training.
784.
Have to see I know that if we got the bill from Cambium in 2022 for the last training that we did, but I think it's typically for just your average, for your annual waste site training, I believe it's $750. So if I do have any shift in staff, it wouldn't get covered. We could take a risk and drop it to like 1,300 in hopes that I don't have to train a third attendant.
Okay, so 1,300.
Is the mileage then to get to the training possibly?
Mileage is if I do get an opportunity to send them to offsite training, or if $200 doesn't get you very far with 2 attendants from north of 7 if a training happened to be in Kingston or something, but yeah, that's what it's for. Get to a convention if I get the opportunity to send them somewhere like that.
Okay. Anything else, Nikki?
Waste disposal general, waste general, it says, so 72300. You've got 19,370, which seems like you must have something planned, but you only spent 2,400 in actuals last year. And then hazardous waste day, we haven't done that. So you still want I don't think we're planning on a hazardous waste day, and you've got 21,000 in there.
Later.
So if you want to explain those two away, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, the waste disposal general, I don't know if that's a labeling issue, but if it is, I don't have any special projects like that planned, so.
Just the way say the expenses.
Waste site monitoring expenses. Cambium?
I don't think it's,
Site monitoring is down here. That's 6,500.
yes, but in that Excel that you and Noah gave me, there was a bunch of things at the bottom.
Oh, okay, that's where we put them. Okay, sorry about that. We just had Michael and I had to get it straight. So on top of our regular site monitoring and compliance, it would take me a minute to load the Excel sheet, but there's lots of other things that are, without having a specialist in waste and recycling in Public Works, there's a couple other items that we sub out to Cambium throughout the year. They help us with data call, they help us with other compliance issues, and they normally I try to get them to do at least one presentation to council per year, and those smaller items add up to that. Now, if we could circle back, I could present every one of those little items if you want.
No, we don't need to, thank you.
Okay. But that's what that is. I just didn't know where those got charged to, that's all. There's Cambium, there's certain things that have to be done annually, and there's certain things that have to be done every 2 years. So Cambium, I believe 2 or 3 years ago, gave us that projection, like a 4 or 5 year projection, and every other year is one of the years where you don't have to spend as much.
So those 2 amounts are needed there?
And hazardous waste day, I haven't got a chance to touch on yet. That could be probably labeled just to hazardous waste collection. So that's just the same account that you use for, that township uses to for hazardous waste day will be used to, once we get an operational, once we get a hazardous waste program going, that'll be the operating budget for collection.
Okay, so take out the day. Okay, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you, and I'm not sure this is appropriate, but do we expect to get hazardous waste depot open this year? Or how are we on the ECA?
ECA was they expected to be able to do to be able to be up and running in the fall. Yeah, so
Good.
that was the goal. And the next anticipated question would be why the operating expense so high if we can't open till the fall, or if it opens late in the year, is because everybody is stockpiling all their stuff right now.
Exactly. I was gonna say, people are patiently waiting to get rid of a lot of stuff.
But the Waste and Recycling Committee, after we've recently worked through some hazardous waste stuff, we've got more work to do on it after the budget, but along with our like diversion stuff we have to look at this year, that'll be another thing that we're looking at in the near future.
Okay. Okay, anything else on that page? Page 56.
Madam Mayor, if I can just point out the far right side of your paper, there's a comment section there that we hope to complete a little bit more accurately during the next budget year, but we got that added and you can see some of the comments now. So I apologize that it was later, but at least it's here now.
Good. Okay. All right. Anything on this page? I see you've got wood grinding and shredding for 11,270. That's a good thing.
No, that needs to be increased. Unless Michael's got it charged somewhere else, there's after a council meeting in 2022, when it was decided that the fire department would no longer be burning the brush. You have it somewhere?
24 here.
Okay,
And
good. No, Michael's got it separated perfectly.
Okay.
I'll
So,
finish what I was saying.
Yes.
Operating costs are up. We have to grind in Olden and in Hinchinbrook now. We have to grind the brush pile now instead of burning it. And it will cost us more in mobilization this year as well, because the only way this might be able to be reduced, we can't do it at this meeting, but if the amnesty program weren't to go through, then we may be able to in a future year drop that grinding back down. We'd have to see, but currently we have to, in the year 2023, we're gonna have to grind the construction debris twice, because we were out of compliance with the large volume that we stockpiled last year. You're only allowed to stockpile a certain volume of that, and we were over that, so we'll have to mobilize twice to grind that, and then once in Hinchinbrook.
okay, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. There is no actual for the grinding at the Hinchinbrook dump last year.
Maybe got charged someplace else, did it?
That might be a new account. That might be in the Hinchinbrook grinding is probably a new account that was created at the end of 2022, like for this budget, because that's the first year we've had to grind that pile.
Yes, but that was an actual cost from last year, wasn't it?
But
I can hear Michael clicking away on his keyboard here right now, but I'm gonna guess that it probably got charged to.
this is Wimp Road that we're talking about, right here. So if Hinchinbrook should be further. Wilkinson. Oh, that's okay.
$11,270 is under the road 38 site.
Okay,
And I would have to get the dollar review down the street, and I'm guessing that the grinding from 2022 was probably charged to the grinding and the whole leasing, because it was the same contract.
okay. What's that?
27,475 went to Olden last year. And if I recall correctly, with the taxes and everything, it was about 30,000 on the accounts payable register that we passed to that contractor.
It's a good memory, Nikki. Which makes sense because the estimate I received was just over 20 and I negotiated to fit our budget for the Mountain Groves grinding was right on the nose for 20,000.
Okay, the rest of page 56, the Arden Road expense, which is the Olden facility.
Arden
Any-
would be just
Any
I'm just
questions
trying
on
to
that?
get caught up on the right page, but that would be just monitoring the old closed waste site.
Okay. Anything else on 56? Moving to 57. Yeah. You can only go back to 56.
That's where I am. Underneath the Olden dump, the salary of 70,885 seems quite a bit higher than the other dumps.
If somebody's off, we cover them. That could be the case, no?
I'll look into it.
That waste site tent's been here for 8 years compared to a brand new one from last year. That could be a difference as well.
Okay, no, I got it. Yeah, because Wimp Road and Hinchinbrook split up in two different.
Two different.
Okay,
spots.
Yeah, okay. I was just seeing the other ones were like 30,000, but those attendants cover two dumps.
yes,
That's right.
yes. Okay,
Problem solved.
page 57. Household recycling, metal goods, there's grinding there. And site monitoring. Total 147,991. And Wimp Road expenses looks pretty similar to the other ones. Yeah, go ahead.
Would the wood grinding and shredding be the same at Mountain Grove dump if now that we're charging the Hinchinbrook to Hinchinbrook?
Have to jump back to see what the proposed is. Olden 24, yeah. This is only one contractor, the one that has been doing it, and he didn't give me much info yet before I put it out for request for quotation, but he said he could not carry the old price, that's for sure. So it's been about 20. I think we grandfathered the pricing for $20,000 for a few years in a row, and I think with fuel costs and everything, it's where he said we're stretching them out pretty thin now. So
Anything else on page 57? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the very bottom of the page, what are special projects for the Wemp Road?
$5,000.
$5,000.
I will have to get confirmation on what's charged to that. Might be a better way to name that for a little more
There's a 10,000.
transparency, but 0815.
Tyson, was it not starting to get the preparation to change that over from an active site to being just a transfer site? I think that's what you mentioned last year.
There's also 10,000 in Olden for a special project.
As far as I know, I still wanted one account for just stuff that comes up throughout the year, signage or anything that comes up throughout the year that isn't always captured in every single one of these budgets, but I don't have any special projects planned. I think that's a kind of a contingency budget, but do you have any info on what's been charged there?
No.
Okay. We can look into that.
Okay. All right. Both sides, yeah.
Both sites, yeah.
Page 58. Okay. Waste management. Total expense is $448,544. And the capital project is the depot of $29,482. That's revenue. What's coming from reserves down below. Okay, so transfer to and from is 112,131. Total Public Works and Waste Management Services, $7,216,561. You say it fast, it doesn't hurt. Okay, page 59. Okay. Does anybody want to take a stretch?
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock, so let's do a little 10-minute stretch.
May I just take 30 seconds, Madam
Sure,
Mayor?
30 seconds is allowed.
So it is, Olden Park Road is a blue box transition and 2 generators that were purchased. And the Wemp Road was load and haul wood chips for 6,600 and 508 for a blue box transition. Those were the special projects, what was in those lines.
So the generators and the first things that Michael mentioned were to keep us in compliance after a MOL visit. And if there's no more questions on that, I did pull up the other Excel sheet that I had for the site monitoring extras that I can quickly take us through if
Sure.
council's interested. So these are subject to removal as well. I just didn't know how much detail council wanted. So Cambium gave me an estimate. I tried to get a little further ahead this year by predicting some of the upcoming stuff. So council presentation. So if they were to present their closure plan or any other initiatives that our waste and recycling committee asks Cambium to help them with, there's money in there for a council presentation. Training workshop, that needs to stay in there. Closure and post-closure costs that Nikki mentioned, that's where that $1,500 is. Additional on-site meetings if required, $1,300. We're getting better at doing everything with Cambium virtual, just because it is so expensive to get them down from Peterborough. But if monitoring, everything needs to happen on site, additional $1,300. Miscellaneous well repairs if required, $300 per site for $1,500. ECA amendment minor in case the MEC correspondence, MEC brings up anything else and we need help from Cambium to be in compliance. That's $1,600. Data call submission without a site visit, $2,500. Blue box transition support, $1,500, and salt management reporting for $1,000.
Okay, good. When are the producers taking over the cost of their recycling?
2026.
2026. They keep pushing it out further and further all the time.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, as long as we stick with it, we'll eventually get some money out of, hopefully, somebody. Let's take a break.
I brought a guest speaker into the last waste and recycling committee to give the committee a good update on the blue box transition. And I think it was definitely a learning curve for all of us.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. We left off on page 59,
Starting page 59.
or we're starting page 59 at planning services. Any questions on the first page? The contracts of 128,996 is with the county.
Correct. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's it.
computer services, 26,000. That's paid to the county.
Andy and I were just talking about that, Madam Mayor. It's 25,000 for that county planning system that Joe came and presented to council. And there's $1,000 in there just in case we can use citywide to help with potential licensing or whatever.
And if whoever council wants to go that route,
Okay.
that's the community benefit.
And 35,000 miscellaneous planning expenses. What would be under that DC study?
That's
I don't know what DC means,
The
but
development
charges. Got it.
study. And that's right. And the other one under the planning, the other planning was, I think that Councillor Smith had asked before in regards to when Joe was here. Remember you had questions in regards to that? Was it you that asked the questions about that community benefit, or it was Nikki then? So that's there's the budget in there too, money.
So if it doesn't fly, then that'll just be rolled back over into reserves.
Right.
Okay, Craig, go ahead.
What are the contracts to the county for 128?
For their planners.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so total planning is $259,138. Now we're going to page 60. Minor variances. Revenue is 9,500. Expenses 25. So a bit of money in the fund for total minor variances. Severances, 20,000 income. And expenses, 19,000. No, sorry, 1,000. Okay, tell me what I'm reading here. Something doesn't seem right.
Because it's got them in credit, their credits, Michael.
Through to you, Madam Mayor, I believe all the expenses would be in the contracts that we pay to the county planners.
Oh,
That's
see.
missing from
So this is just revenue.
basically just revenue with
Legal fees.
no staff time expense to
Okay.
it.
That's clear as mud. 61. Road closings, advertising, legal fees, closing valuations. Total of 11,700 and revenue of 4,800 to that line. Questions, comments? Philip, go ahead.
I just noting that we have 15,000 in for road closure revenues. But I know we've done a number of road closures where some of them were like $30,000 or $40,000. So
Yeah,
Is
they're
it
not
be-
even there in actuals.
no, but they were recent.
You're talking about the payment to us
Yeah,
for
is
the
that what
land?
those revenues are?
Is it on another line, Michael?
I'd have to, through Madam Mayor, Councillor Smith and Madam Mayor, I'd have to look and see exactly what those were or where they've gone. The actuals for the road closings were the 15,887 or no, 6113, sorry. Honestly, I'd have to look. I'd have to know who, when, where, and I can find it.
I don't know, maybe they haven't happened. I just remember they came to council and there were some pretty big numbers associated with some of those road
Yeah.
closings.
They may not have been billed yet, too.
Okay.
What was that, Cindy?
Finalized.
Okay,
Before the money gets in. Right?
so that'll be next sheets we get. There'll be accruals. All right. Advertising and promotion, 500, 750 for legal. $12.50 for the official plan expense, zoning, $10,000 revenue. Advertising, page 62. Total zoning expense, $22.50 and income, $7,750. $500 condominium revenue. And 500 just to offset that, I would think.
Mhm.
Site plan review, 3,500 income and cost for legal and planning services zoning for 3,200. Page 63 is revenue 2,300, cost of 2,300. And at the bottom, transfer to other funds is 6,578. Total planning services, $228,116. Any questions on those? One more page.
Nope, that's it.
Oh, the grand total of $9,602,505, barring a few changes here that in there that we did today.
Yes,
Michael.
just to let you know, update, Madam Mayor, on the 128,103 that was in the Charlotte Lake Village. There's different columns that we can put things into the budget. We can put it as a one-time, which automatically reverses. Michael put that as a service level increase, which meant it was going to continue forever and ever. So that revenue was in there in error. I apologize. And I replaced it with money from reserves, unfortunately, to keep the budget at 2.9% or that 9,600,000 and so that you read.
Okay. Okay, any questions or comments at this point? What's the next step? You're going to bring us back one nice sheet that shows us where we're ending up.
Well, I believe the only other adjustment that I have written down here to do is $1,300 on the reduction for waste site training. And the budget is at where it's at right now. That's not going to have that much of an impact. So right now we're still levying 2.9% pretty much.
Okay,
And I can bring back whatever council dictates us to bring back, or we can bring back, sorry, not just me.
the motion that we're proposing to pass today is to receive the draft as presented and that the final budget be brought back to council for approval on the 28th of February. So it gives us a couple of weeks if something jumps out at you that we didn't talk about.
And that would provide for Michael, right, for the bylaw so that that can finalize. So Michael, so the number that we put into that the net levy is the 9,602,505.
Correct, Kathy. That's where we're at right now. Again, the only other adjustment I've written down is to take the training to 1,300, but $1,200 reduction in expense is not going to make that much of an impact. It'll still probably be 2.9.
Okay.
Perfect.
Craig, you had a question.
Yeah, I noticed it there earlier, but we were moving on. Just back on page 52, it has that road 38 corridor improvement at Eagle Lake. I think that was for the trail. It has it at
Yeah.
350,000. But I thought there was talk that a bunch of that was coming from the county.
It is.
It's in there in revenue somewhere,
Is it?
I believe.
Yeah.
Michael?
Unfortunately, the capital module takes a minute to get into. I can start it here and maybe update Councillor Milton and council after. There is money that's coming from gas tax. I just can't tell you exactly the right amount right now.
There will be a little bit in there that we will be responsible for.
Yes, there's a small portion. I don't want to guess right now,
Okay,
but I should be able to tell you in a minute.
so there is revenue against that. Okay, I have a motion. The motion is, oh, Vicky.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know the fire chief isn't here, but can we get some clarity before we vote on the budget itself? We had talked him out of the 20, that he wanted 25,000 for a training facility and we took the 20,000 out and he left 5 in. But I also see that he's got $12,000 in also for training site. So 17,000 for CCANs is a little high. So I wanted some clarity on that.
Michael, could you Can you answer that?
I will, I know the account numbers and unfortunately, when I try and get into the capital module, it blocks me from every other module until that gets in. So I'm still in that same time frame. But if I can get the account numbers,
I have
certainly,
the,
perfect, please, when you're ready.
so just the last 5 digits, is that all right? Or do you
No,
want the whole thing?
yes, please.
10-040
Right.
0404
Right,
70107.
okay,
And then when we go to capital, it was 20-040-4011-70370.
perfect, thank you.
And then also on the fire building improvements and maintenance, I thought we had dropped it from 57.5 to 42.5, but it's still sitting at 57.5. And that's 20-040-4008-70370.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Michael, we can probably answer the one in regards to the electrical because it came in for the Arden station higher than what was expected.
12,000.
That's why it was 12,000 and something. Was it not, Michael?
Five, something like that.
Yeah, that they had to put it up then into the budget to cover it. That's the renovations they're doing at the Arden station. I know that one for sure.
And what this motion is the draft. So if there are changes, when we get the final motion, we'll check to make sure those have been answered.
Yeah.
Madam
Okay.
Mayor. This might be, I understand if you say no, but I just thought it'd be worth asking. Would it be too much to ask to approve, like, it's the third time we've discussed public works capital and equipment purchases? Would it be too much to ask to approve a portion of the capital budget so NOAA can get tendering and get into joint tenders with other municipalities and get the equipment tenders and RFQs going?
I would safely say after, is this 4 days or 5 days we've been doing this? Half days, mind you. And this draft budget that we talked about today, those issues were not an issue. So I think it would be very safe to go ahead and call a contract on those or tenders. Are we in agreement with that? Okay, I have a motion moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by Susan Irwin. The council received the draft budget as presented by staff with a net levy amount of $9,602,505. And further that the final budget be brought back to council for final approval at the February 28th, 2023 meeting. All those in favor? Motion's carried. You will get that to us a few days early so we can check to be sure that all the things we remembered have been put in.
Yes, I can produce the budget whenever at a moment's notice after we've made some adjustments. But if I may address Councilor Gowdy's question there, to try and help out for the training and the capital, starting with the 20. He did have storage shed 3,000, props 6,000, shipping containers 16, and then we reduced it by 20 to bring it down to 5. So I'm not 100% sure which one the 5 is directed to, but on the first account number that you gave me, ending in 7010710, that it does say training props on it. So I think we still have to clarify with the fire chief.
Okay. All right. At this point, we will, I guess, recess this meeting and come back at 4 o'clock. It's 3:29 now. So do we have a motion to recess?
No.
No. Okay. So recess for 20 minutes and then we're back for our regular meeting. Thank you one and all for all your hard work. We did it. Sorry. It's 4 o'clock. We are going to reconvene our meeting. And our first order of business is a delegation from Ann Pritchard from Frontenac Business Services. Welcome, Ann. There's a spot at the table for you. You brought the sunshine with you.
I did bring the sunshine with me.
Excellent. You'll
Thank you.
need to speak right into those.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for taking the opportunity to have me make a presentation today. I know it's been a busy day for you with your budget proceedings, so thank you very much for that. I think Chris has got some slides there, so maybe the next slide if we could. The reason that I have asked to present to council today is twofold, both to thank you very much, you and the staff, for the support that you have shown the Frontenac Business Services in previous years, but also to let you know about the services and programs that we're offering now, because until someone needs our service, they never really are looking for it. So if you're able to provide that information to them to come to us, then we can assist the businesses in your community. So just a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we do. We're a not-for-profit organization. We're funded by the Federal Development for Southern Ontario, or the federal government, and we're governed by a volunteer board of directors. Our mandate from the federal government is to provide business information. So business information would be things like someone calling us and saying they want to know how to register their business, or do they need to register for HST, that sort of thing. We do a lot of work in connecting businesses, or other people. So if someone might call in and they have a question about, where to find the Starter Company Plus, or how to get the summer student subsidy program, or where to get the job training program. So we provide a lot of those connections. That takes a fair bit of our time, and I think lots of benefit to that as well. We offer business counseling. The business counseling is free of charge. I have two colleagues not with me today, but Jason Brown. Jason works part-time for us and part-time teaching at St. Lawrence College, and he is really good at helping people with their business planning, their marketing, and their sales, and has a real strength in that. And that service is all free of charge. My other colleague, Lauren Reed, Lauren has a CPA, and she helps people understanding how to read their financial statements, but more to the pack, what she does is help them project their cash flow projections. A lot of people don't understand how to do cash flow projections, the importance of it, that sort of thing, which is really important now with the prices of things going up as well. So we spend a fair bit of time. And then the last service that we provide is our loan service. So we provide that service in conjunction primarily with the banks. If someone can go to a traditional funder and get funding, that's great. They can still use our other services. However, if they're rural, if they're a startup, if they're a restaurant, there's lots of things that banks won't traditionally fund. That's where we step in. The other place we step in a lot, especially in Central North area, is in tourism accommodations, because banks they typically only fund up to about 60%, and the client probably doesn't have that other 40%. So we can step in and we work with other organizations to make that happen. And we do a lot of work with the Business Development Bank of Canada. So that talks a little bit more about our loans. So we can lend up to 150, and on exceptional circumstances, we're allowed to go up to $300,000. And we are, unlike the bank, our mandate is to provide, get businesses here, help them to support the communities with jobs and that sort of thing. So we tailor those loan payments to what it is that's going to help the business themselves. So sometimes if it's a startup, they may not make their first payment for 3 or 6 months, Or maybe it's a tourism accommodation business where they can pay principal and interest during their busy seasons and interest only in the off season. So we really work with the client to try and figure out what's going to work for them in their particular cash flow. So we, in addition to our mandated services, what I just mentioned, we also have our strategic priorities. So one is what we call brand fortitude and business promotion. The next is investing for impact and food and beverage. So the first one, brand fortitude, is just getting our name out there, who we are and what we do. As I mentioned earlier, if someone doesn't know who we are and what we're doing, they're only looking for it when they actually need the service. So you always need to be out there and letting people know what it is that you're able to provide. So we try to do that. It's, it's like many businesses, we do the marketing sort of off the side of the desk while we're doing our main business, but we do try. And we've also always taken a focus on business promotion. We have no chambers of commerce. I know you have a very active Charlotte Lake Business Association, but we take that part of our job seriously in terms of trying to promote new businesses that are here so that they can connect with the business community, and we promote them through our social media, but then we do a quarterly newsletter through Frontenac News. So any new businesses we promote in there as well. And we also use them for our own testimonials, so people can read that's, so-and-so has gotten assistance from us, and it's sort of a win-win. It helps us know that, there's real people who've used our services, and it helps them in getting their word out for sure. The second one is invest for impact. So that is our loans that we're investing into the community. And there's 3 strategies there. One is job creation. The second is business profitability, and the third is community impact. So job creation speaks to itself. If they're either maintaining or creating jobs, that's something that we consider when we're making that investment. The second is business profitability. So it might be an existing business. They need some assistance, for example, buying a piece of equipment that's going to make them more profitable, or maybe they need to do an expansion to make them more profitable. And the third is community impact. And normally I can't tell you who our clients are unless they are one of our success stories and let us do that. So I'll give you 2 examples of community impact, and both of those are in Charlotte Lake. One is your grocery store. We helped Mike, who has since deceased, but Gord as well, in terms of they needed that, what we refer to as a downstroke, to make that financing deal work. And if we hadn't been there, you might not have had a grocery store in Charlotte Lake. You might have been a food desert. The other one would be the Charlotte Lake retirement that Andrew has. We helped him in putting that financing together. And again, you wouldn't have that service if we hadn't been able to do that and then graduate him on to another type of financing to help his business. And I will touch on food and beverage, but I'll wait a little bit later for that if you want to flip to the next slide. Yeah, you did. Okay, so I've done that one already. I'm ahead of myself. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about our loan portfolio as well, if anyone is interested. It is approximately 6.5 million, I think, at the moment. And our top 3 sectors, both by dollar amount and by number of loans, are tourism accommodation, retail, and construction. So that's the main sectors that we have assisted, just because that's what's here really. And we do that. We also, which isn't in the slide, is provide a lot of, we call them regional relief and recovery funds. But if you're familiar, during the pandemic, the banks had something called CEBA, the Canadian Emergency Benefits Assistance. We had a similar program, which initially in the first 2 tranches of funding was called Regional Relief and Recovery. And then they came up with another tranche, which they called CEBA-like, because it's a government. So we did quite a bit of funding for that as well. And those loans will be coming due this year, should the people not want to have to if they want to get the non-refundable portion. Next slide, please, Chris. So I mentioned I'd be talking about food and beverage. So many of you have heard about me talking about the food and beverage that we've done. And in previous years, we were working with sister municipalities, both Hastings, Lennox, and Addington, and Prince Edward County, and we had what we call FAB region. They backed out of that project a couple of years ago, and we decided we'd continue on, but we would rebrand it as FAB Frontenac, we're a little slow getting out of the gate because we're so busy with the pandemics stuff happening. We didn't actually get the new website up and running till last year. The reason we did it is when we started concentrating on value-added food production, which would have been 11 years ago. I was only aware of one value-added food producer. And now we're probably up to about 23 in the entire county. Mike McKenzie, who many of you know from Seed to Sausage, is, one of the companies that we have worked with and actually were able to attract because of the Fab Region project to this area. And so we created this whole website, and it's really looking to work with business people who want to or to attract businesses here, and then for the existing businesses to help them grow and support them. You want to go to the next one? So I thought many of you are familiar with KMP. So this is one of the most recent ones that we have worked with to help support them start and grow their food and beverage business in the county of Frontenac. I probably should have used Fine Chocolate by Ludwig, given it's Valentine's Day, chocolates. But anyway, this is the most recent one. So that's why we have put that one up there. So if you go to the website, you'll see some success stories. You'll see information on how to start. We've also started what we call foodie mentors. So a number of the people who are success stories are willing to share their experience and, what's worked for them and hasn't worked with them in their business with other people who are looking to start and grow their businesses. Next slide, please. Then I just thought I'd take a moment just to talk about opportunities and vacant commercial properties and succession to you while I had you here. So one of the opportunities I see here for you is the school properties. I think they present a significant opportunity for the community, and you may wish to consider seeking proposals for the potential purchase, adaptive reuse, and development of the properties, and the opportunities need to be marketed. I think there's some good opportunities there for you. If you're looking at residential use, you might also want to look at the needs of youth and young families. That's a struggle as we see businesses moving into this area. They need to also have a place to live. Cardinal Cafe would be an example. Young couple moved to the area. It took them a while to be able to find accommodations in the community to be able to have that business. The second is vacant properties. There are a number of properties that have sat idle for years, and there's an opportunity to bring them back into productive use. I honestly don't know about the taxation of unproductive properties, but there's maybe a way to incentivize if you're only having them pay part of their taxes because they haven't been used. Maybe you do that for 24 months, for example, and then up the property tax to encourage them either to put the property to use or to resell it. The reason I mention that is because available properties are few and far between in the county of Frontenac, and it's a huge stumbling block for us to be able to help businesses to start and to grow in our communities. And I've seen a number of businesses relocate outside of Frontenac only because they haven't been able to get property for. And I can give you an example of that. We worked with a company called Berg, which is a mobile They help seniors, for example, with, mobile challenges. They started one person, they grew it to 16, and then they had to leave Frontenac because there was just no place for them to continue to grow their business, which was very unfortunate. Both of these opportunities, in my opinion, may benefit from the communal services. Services, as you know, are a significant barrier to entry for businesses. And I'm going to give you an example here. If you've passed by our offices in Harrowsmith, the initial owner of that was a developer, and even using his own construction crew, it would have cost him $120,000 just to put the septic in. If he was going to have a restaurant in there, and you have to sell a lot of coffees to make back 120 grand. Even as it is, he ended up putting in a smaller septic for 80,000. He's leasing out that property. It's over 4 years worth of rent from a tenant just to pay for that septic system. The other thing I want to highlight is succession. And what I mean by that is, especially in tourism, people who are looking to retire and I guess I've been doing this job long enough now that I'm seeing some of our initial clients looking to sell their businesses to retire. And if you do hear of people looking to retire, we would love for you to refer them to ourselves or to the County of Frontenac, because there are things we can do to assist. We've worked with a number of them looking to do that, to be able to get the new buyer some financing to be able to buy that business. And in some instances, we're now starting to work with the Toronto district chain. I can't remember the name now, but they're on a pilot with immigrants who are coming into the area, and they are looking for opportunities for these immigrants to buy businesses. And so we've already referred a couple of businesses to them. So there are opportunities. If you do hear of anybody, please let us know, because it would be lovely to work with those new businesses to help them find the full potential. So these initiatives may help to encourage young residents to stay in the community, create spaces for small business owners to start and grow their businesses in your community, encourage cottagers to become year-round residents, and I'm sure you're seeing a bit of that, as I know we are, and provide existing residents with more services and products locally and increase your tax revenues. The next slide, if I could. So we do an e-newsletter. We don't send it out like once a week and fill in your inbox. We only send it out when there is in fact some news to share. So it could be a new program that's coming up. For example, Starter Company Plus, which I mentioned earlier, or there's some grants for digital technologies. When we find out about those programs, we send out to anyone who's on our listserv. In addition to that, we do that quarterly hard copy newsletter that goes out through Frontenac News. So just, if you're interested, just go to the front page of our website, scroll down, and you can sign in there. And I've put our contact information in there as well. And I know that you're busy, so I kept my presentation short. But if you have any questions and answers or questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Anne. It's so good to have you come to the table, especially with lots of new folks around. And that relationship that we've built over the years, we need to foster and keep it strong. Questions or comments from anyone? Do you have a comment, Bill?
Yes, his business for sale.
Certainly. I got a business to give away. I'm trying to retire. I mean, I'd prefer to sell it, but I will give it away.
Give it away?
Absolutely.
I'll leave my card. You give me a call.
I don't have mine there in the car, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
You will find each other. Any other comments? Thank you for all the work that you do for the Frontenacs and especially for Central Frontenac. It does show in our community. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion.
Yes.
I have a motion moved by Craig Middleton and seconded by Susan Irwin that council receives the presentation from Ann Pritchard regarding the services available through Frontenac Business Services. All those in favor? Carried. And you're going home while there's still sunlight out there. We're going to be here for a little bit longer. All right, we are at staff reports. And our first one is departmental updates, development services. That's Mr. Andy down there. Moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council received the construction details report. Sorry, it's Tyson, not Andy. January 2023 for information. Is it Andy? Oh,
Yes,
sorry,
It's
it is.
construction detail.
Sorry, I was still on roads. Andy, do you have anything to tell us on your report?
Not too much, Madam Mayor. Looks like we're off to a good start for 2023.
Good. How many outstanding from last year that you're going to have to deal with closing them out this year?
Well,
Roughly.
quite a number, I would say 75, 80%.
So that's where the work isn't just what's coming through the door now, but what has come through the door and needs time to be built, eh?
Yeah, most of the projects, like for a new home, is more than a year on average.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Building Department fee increase. We have a motion moved by Craig Middleton and seconded by Susan Irwin. Whereas bylaw 2014-27 was amended in February 2021 to index the building permit fees as set out in Schedule C to QC non-residential construction price index, and then further amended in February 2022 to index the fees to Ottawa's October Total Consumer Price Index, CPI, deviation annually on February 1. And whereas council passed resolution 492, 2022, requesting that any bylaw or policy which reference an annual increase by the October Consumer Price Index be brought back to council to consider whether to reduce to 3.25 for the year 2023. And whereas the Manager of Development Services, CBO, is recommending to council to increase the 2023 building permit fees as per the 2022 bylaw by CPI of 6.9% and freeze septic system fees at 2022 rates that were set by South Frontenac. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the following report for information and provide direction to staff as to whether to increase the 2023 building permit fees by 6.9% or 3.25%. Discussion. Do we want to go 6.9 or 3.25? Who wants to start? Philip.
I think if I was putting the number in, it'd be the 3.25. But I think the report indicated we've already changed these fees and charged some of the new applications already the 6.9% increase. So just to confirm that if we're changing that increase amount, that we would be issuing refunds back to those individuals.
Yes, there would need to be refunds for January and February, right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith. No permits have been issued since February 1st. So the refund is not an issue.
Okay. Because this does start February 1st, right?
Yes,
Okay.
according to the bylaw, it should have taken effect February 1st, but I felt it was important being with new council members and that it is a large increase that I bring a report to make you aware of how the building fees work.
Susan.
I have two questions. First of all, how do our fees compare to other townships? So what's North Frontenac doing? What's South Frontenac doing? Are they doing 6.9%?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Irwin, South Frontenac has frozen their fees this year. I believe they're at $18 per thousand. I could be wrong. And North Frontenac, their bylaw is, our bylaw is very similar to South Frontenac's, where North Frontenac's bylaw, I think, is more based on square footage, and they have set minimums for, say, a dwelling or garage, or where ours is all based on percentage of construction value.
My second question relates to my understanding of the reason for the increase and to 6.9% relates to the funding of reserves. Because it's recommended that we have the equivalent of 3 years in reserve. And at our current fees, we're only at 1/4 of 1 year. So it seems to me that the higher fees, the 6.9%, makes sense in terms of our financial sustainability.
Okay.
Just a comment.
One other thing I'd like to add, have it up here or not, but for one reason or another, these fees were, and the bylaw was established in 2014, and for a number of years, the fees were not increased according to the bylaw. That's why I'm recommending the 6.9 to get up to where where we should have been at by now. But you can't make it all up in 1 year, that's for sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Dan?
So on a $200,000 house, Andy, then the fees would be $3,000. So if you upped it to 6.9, it would be double that. Am I correct?
It would change from 3,000 to 3,200.
At 6.9%?
That the 6.9% would increase the current rate of $15 per thousand to $16 per thousand.
So a $200,000 house right now at 3.2% or 3.25 is roughly $3,000. The average house would be 300,000.
I would say, yeah, 300 would be a accurate number.
So you're looking at $4,500 for a building permit.
Correct.
Seems a little steep, but
But look at the $500,000-$600,000 homes that are being built to drop in the bucket at that stage, I guess, but it seems like a lot. Craig,
Thanks, Madam Mayor. To you, Andy. So I think you said South Frontnac's $18 per thousand.
I believe they're at 18. I know they're at least 17.
So even with our increase, we'd still be cheaper than South Frontenac at
Correct.
$16 a thousand.
Yes.
Okay.
any other questions or comments? So as the motion is read, to increase the building permit fees by 6.39 or 3.25, which do you want to do? 6.9? Okay, 3.5, 25.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so it's going 6.9. Okay, so the motion that you're voting on is now therefore be it resolved that council receive the following report for information and provide direction to staff as to whether to increase the 2023 building permit fees by 6.9%. All those in favor? Opposed?
And you.
Carried. It's not cheap to do anything anymore. So 6.9 it is. Okay. Zoning bylaw changes. We have Sonia with us today if we want to talk about any of these. Moved by Craig Middleton and seconded by Susan Irwin. Whereas bylaw 2011-52 was amended in October 2022 to comply with section 26(9) of the Planning Act, which requires the update of a zoning bylaw to be undertaken within 3 years after the revision of the official plan. And whereas comments have been received regarding new updates, including the addition of absolute maximum and minimum building sizes being imposed. And whereas staff have discussed these issues with the planners who are willing to review the planning rationale and process the amendments they are comfortable to support. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council authorize staff to engage the planners to bring back a housekeeping amendment to address these concerns at the earliest opportunity. First, let's discuss what those changes are. One was in the size of little houses. One was in the size of garages and accessories. And I can't remember the last one,
Main building
the percentage of the main building.
to, on waterfront, because the one's on waterfront.
I want to thank both of the carpenters who submitted information. And, you know, when you're going through the zoning bylaw, size doesn't always hit you as to what it really is on the ground. So I compliment these two companies for sending us some opinions about what this does to the job of building homes and accessory buildings. So it's good to know that somebody's watching and listening to this stuff. Okay, so we're good to have the planners go ahead and take a look at this and bring us back a report.
And housekeeping amendment.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Excellent. Okay, we are at Public Works now. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated February 14th, 2023 for information. Any discussion? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, I'm gonna flog that dead horse about the streetlights. Any update on when they will be fixed?
No, I know through Madam Mayor to Councillor Gowdy, RW was not quite complete the last round of work that they were doing, so we'll follow up with them immediately.
Okay. Anything else, Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you for looking into the mill in Parham. It was a concern I had, so hopefully it does hold steady until the spring thaw is complete. And just for clarity, can you walk me through the clearing of sidewalks again? I know you and I've spoken before, but just to understand, we've done the village a couple of times, and then it takes a week to get out to the village of Charlotte Lake, and then it takes a week or so to get out to the other villages.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Smith, sidewalk clearing in other hamlets other than Charlotte Lake only happens during snow removal operations. We currently still have to unfortunately use plow equipment to do the sidewalks in the other hamlets, and it only happens when we do snow removal. So we currently don't have the manpower or the equipment mostly the manpower to move that blower from township or from hamlet to hamlet each storm. Currently our main snow blower operator is a patrolman. So the patrolman that has started the shift, he then calls the crews for during the winter event, and then comes to he jumps into the snow blower to finish off his shift in Charlotte Lake. So you would need a second full-time operator in that season to load it back onto a trailer, float it to another village, and then plow snow blow the sidewalks, and then do that with the two other hamlets as well. Something I would be interested in exploring. It's been successful in Charlotte Lake. We got the main reason here was we got the brand new sidewalks to make sure that we kept from damaging them with plows. So as we expand, it's something we're definitely interested in pursuing, but we just need more staff for that. Equipment, I think, yeah, eventually, but right now, even just with the equipment we have, I'm sure if we had somebody to go straight into that job in the daytime, we could get at them within a couple days rather than weeks.
Sorry, I shut mine off because Tyson's was making a sound. All right. I think that's a sign you did too much talking. All right, next is Public Works as well. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan. Whereas tender RFT PW 2021-03 was released on April the 6th, 2021 and closed April the 20th, 2021. The contract was for 3 winter seasons, starting on October the 11th, 2021 and ending April 30th, 2024. And whereas Hamilton Carpentry was awarded the tender and began to perform the duties outlined in the said tender. And whereas Hamilton Carpentry is requesting a fuel surcharge due to the increase in fuel prices through 2021 to 2023. And whereas there was no fuel price indexing clause in the original tender document, and as such, 3 options are being presented to council. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager to execute option 3 as outlined in the report to create an addendum to the contract that allows for a possibility of unit cost adjustments due to inflation. you want to speak to this, Tyson?
Madam Mayor, I don't have much more to say, and Noah's done an excellent job with this report, gathering all this info as well. I just, as manager of Public Works, I feel obligated to look out for our local contractors who've been serving this community for such a long time. So felt this was an important discussion at council tonight.
Okay. Questions or comments from anyone? Nikki, go ahead.
First, I'd like to have a thank you, recorded
Recorded
vote.
vote,
I was gonna say
okay.
requested. Sorry, thank you. A recorded vote on this. But second of all, how are we opening ourselves by, it's not the township or the ratepayers' fault that the contractor didn't bid appropriately on this contract. And we're opening, if we go ahead, we're setting a precedent that every contractor that we have that picks up garbage or cleans or whatever, that can come back and say, oh, sorry, I'm having a rough time. I feel for the man. I'm sorry that he didn't think ahead. But on the other hand, we need to justify these expenses to our ratepayers, and setting a precedent, I feel is opening ourselves to litigation and more people coming forward looking for more money.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I know everybody knows, but like fuel's been through the roof. I've been talking to Jeff. I represent Jeff as counsel, so does Susan. Like it went from $1.10 to like $2.30. And everywhere else in the world that's bringing us stuff right now has a fuel surcharge on every bill that's out there. And I, in my past work history, dealing with contractors, I have a real hard time to understand how our township has contracts that didn't have CPI already built in. You know, like that's just a norm in the outside world. If you take on a 3 to 5 year contract, there's CPI, there's some kind of wording of every year of what your increase is going to be.
Right.
And I think it's a good idea for us to get our contracts that's more than 1 year on an established process like that, so people know when they're bidding what it's going to be. That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, to speak to Councillor Gowdy's question, and Councillor Middleton's, I agree that this is a contract that's been grandfathered for a while, and we've had really good luck and success and good pricing from a local contractor. Hamilton's Carpentry, similar to us, didn't expect these kind of fuel increases. So I agree with you that it was in the contract, but I don't think we're being fair by not awarding that. But one thing that I hope eases your mind is that this type of a CPI fuel portion of the contract will be incorporated in every contract and tender from here on out.
Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Just a comment in general. In March of 2021, fuel was not $1.10 a liter. I remember paying over $2.40 since the pandemic started. And it's now $1 less than what it has been. So I don't know if that's a valid argument. Should it have been included in the contract? I agree with you. But $1.10 is not valid.
But I think he's talking more diesel fuel, not gas.
Yeah.
I realize it's still more expensive than gas, but percentage wise, it doesn't matter. I don't believe it was $1.10 then either.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Just to bring it to council, I did speak to our legal counsel in regards to this and about not having it. And yes, we should put them into our contracts. In Councillor Gowdy's comments in regards to, litigation or any of those things. This person, when I spoke with the lawyer, he did say this was the only one that bid on that contract. And the only one so it is council's decision you can do that. You should not get, there would not be the case of litigation because nobody else bid on that certain section of those roads. So, but it is certainly council's decision if you wish to pay it, but we can do that. There's not going to be, it's different if we would have had 3 or 4 contractors bidding on that same one, then you might have an issue on that one contract, but just so that you'd know.
Okay, Bill and then Philip.
Sorry, it's one final question, Madam Mayor. But this won't spill over into other contractors who use gasoline?
No, not for this one. This is just one specific. We've only had one request from this one and it was the only contract.
And future tenders will have CPI in them.
They will have the CPI in it. So
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So
Philip.
we only have one contract for the roads?
these were, this contract was district, I think it was District
No,
1.
sorry, but I mean overall in the township, there's only one contractor that we're dealing with.
That's the
Because
only
I
contract
envisioning-
that asked that I'm aware of, but I'll let the
So I
public works
understand
manager
it's only
speak.
one person that's asked, but this isn't a public meeting and if we have other contractors, they're going to know that we're doing this increase and we'll have them lined at the door saying, I want it to.
Well, I'm just.
So the question to Tyson then is how many more contractors do we have that could possibly be bringing us their fuel bill?
Every contractor that's bid on any of our tenders that didn't have CPI, the Matthew Street tender had that had fuel indexing included. Grounds maintenance could. They haven't. I'm not sure what kind of time period there would be. That was like, I guess it would come down to the stronger lawyer, but all other contracts could, for sure.
Okay. So the other thing, just to be clear, is we could risk losing this contractor and have to buy equipment to do the job ourselves. Craig,
What is the cost of the buyout to get out, if Jeff wanted to get out of the contract?
I don't know.
I'd have to double check the contract, but I believe no cost. Do you mean if Public Works had to take over that contract? Or there's no penalty, there's no monetary penalty for getting out of that contract. There's a warning, however many days of notice. If I had to guess, I would say 60, but there's no fine for that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a penalty if they opt out of the contract or not, that's all.
Right. The cost of Public Works taking over that would be the cost of multiple plow trucks, more sand, salt, our own fuel. The contractor's not asking for anything but to cover his fuel. So we would also have to pay for that fuel and the cost of more operators.
Nikki and then Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if say Jeff's we decide not to give him the fuel surcharge, he's going to give us 60 days, which basically gets us through the rest of the season. And then we have time to retender the contract for the fall or come back with, we need to hire operators and buy equipment for next fall. So we're good. We would be good this season. It would be a worry for next season.
That's correct. Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Galley, that's correct. The only thing I will correct you on is Hamilton's Carpentry in no way has made any indication that they would ever do that to this township. Jeff's a great guy, great to work with. He's been serving this community for a long time. They're simply asking this so he can stay afloat.
Okay, Susan.
I'm just following up on Councillor Smith's query or suggestion that there might be other contractors lining up at the door. So this contract was for maintenance on various roads and facilities. Are there other contractors that bid on other roads in our community? I'm still not clear on that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Irwin, we only have one contract for our roads that we can't plow ourselves that are I was just trying to expand on Councillor Smith's question about other contracts that could be asked about. I don't want to beat around the bush that any contract that was advertised they could ask that. We are in joint tender with Calcium with the Frontenac Islands, and the company Dali approached us in 2023, us and the islands and Central Frontenac agreed to a fuel surcharge of increase because they said they were forced to, or they were going to have to get out of the contract. So it's not the first time this has happened. It's not the first time it's going to happen. For the rest of the work that was done by contractors in 2022, a lot of those contracts were tendered, bid on, and completed, and awarded and completed all in 1 year. So that fuel transition wasn't as dramatic. You're talking a couple $1,000s here and there, which none of those contractors have brought that to our attention. The reason this one's such a difficulty is because it's such a long contract. It's fuel over so many years, which goes back to Councillor Middleton's point of having CPI in all tenders moving forward.
Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. Tyson. He's only asking for the remainder of his contract.
This excellent question, Councillor Everett. This would come as an addendum to the contract that would be signed off on by the township and the contractor, and that would transfer into, that addendum would be valid for the remainder of 2023 as well. Now, I think it's a no-brainer that option number 3 is the way to go, because now with fuel prices starting to settle a little, that's not going to be a cost. It's not going to be an expense, but and in certain situations it could be a credit.
so he's not looking for retroactive, he's looking for here forward.
No, he's looking for 2022.
Okay. So 2022 and 23 going forward.
I'm just looking at the chart here that Noah's got made for us. So January 2020 extra cost based on 2022 actuals. As far as we know, this huge increase only happened in 2022. Jeff only approached us for clarification. Hamilton Carpentry, their option is number 1. That was that they roughly estimated 8 to 10%. That was for that tough year 2022. So as far as I know, they're asking for the $14,000 to $15,000 in 2022.
And the new part of
And
the contract going
moving
forward. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to do this one by one.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
Cindy helped me out and looked up, and it's 30 days notice that Hamilton's Carpentry would have to give us to back out of the contract.
okay. Dan,
So like in 2023, 2024, if the prices come back down, would that 10% be given back to the township? Probably not.
With the customer price index, I'll give you an example for the Matthew Street project. Tendered and budgeted and tendered, there was supposed to be X amount for fuel, and because the price didn't spike yet, we got a check back from the contractor for $6,000 or $8,000 what they tendered for fuel. So yes, we would. That's how the option number 3, that's how it works. It's fair for the contractor and the municipality.
okay. Lynn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not up on a lot of the legal things, but is it not a possibility to conclude the contract a year earlier and cut it off as where it's been right now, and then have them do a new bid for next year? And that includes CPI, and it's a fresh contract, so we're not modifying this contract, we're just concluding it early.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Clagus, what we've presented is an option far simpler and more fair, that we feel is more fair. I like to remember that for this contractor to bid on this job, he had to go out and purchase equipment, hire multiple staff members, put them on, pay their salary for what he hopes is an entire winter. So to do that mid-contract, I know the optics of him asking for this mid-contract, but those are kids that he's got, young guys that he's got hired to plow all winter. So I think that would be, I don't feel that would be fair.
Susan?
I mean, when you have a contract, it's often buyer beware, you know, but there's nothing wrong with amending a contract. If both sides are willing.
If both sides are willing.
And this is an addendum that both sides have to sign off on, and I'm just presenting what I think is fair and how I would like to treat our local contractors, so people want to continue working for us.
Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. When did Mr. Hamilton bring this to your attention, please?
Through Madam Mayor, I'd have to check my emails, but it was well before the Christmas holidays.
I would be amenable to from when he approached you on, but not prior to that. Just, I mean, I myself charge a fuel surcharge. And if it's wrong, I eat it. That's my mistake. I'm not trying to be fair or unfair, but I think if it was an issue before that, it should have been brought before that.
I'll put that back to you, Madam Mayor, for a minute. If you want to, if you'd have to probably make a new motion or word option 3 differently. And I was just going to look up see if I could quickly look up when I received that.
But option 3 does say pay 2022 plus going forward.
Correct. I wrote back to Jeff that I have received this and I will bring it to council on December 12th.
So it was before the end of the year.
And I did want to have it in front of council sooner. There was some delays back and forth with Kathy and the lawyers and everything like that.
Did we put anything in the budget for it?
Not at this time, no. I'll have to check actuals to see where we're at.
Okay, it's a tough one, but we're going to call the vote. Okay. All right. Let me put my glasses on so I can see all the names. All right, Nikki Gowdy. Susan Irwin. Danny Meeks. We're voting to execute option 3, which is to pay the 2022 and going forward. Okay.
I'm going to say no because I think it opens herself up to everybody else.
Okay. Smith over there.
That's me, I guess. No.
Okay. Lynn. Bill Everett.
No.
Craig Middleton.
Yes.
Cindy Kelsey.
No.
And Fran Smith. Yes. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's and 2, 3 yeses. It's defeated. Okay. Onward.
Yes.
Oh, I need a mover on that one, Dan. Great. Thank you. All right, this is moved by Dan Meeks and seconded by Bill Everett. Whereas the Amnesty Load program has been operating for over 17 years, allowing residents to dispose of items free of charge. And whereas this program has had a large impact on the amount of waste received at the landfills, which is reducing the lifespan of the site. And whereas the Waste and Recycling Committee is recommending to council that the Amnesty program not operate in 2023 and that the program should be eliminated completely. And whereas residents will continue to have the option to dispose of large items and mixed loads of waste anytime throughout the year by paying a small fee at the waste site. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Waste and Recycling Committee to eliminate the amnesty program beginning in 2023. Discussion. Lynn?
I just have a comment that I wanted to add to that, and it's, I feel that we all need to be responsible for our waste. And we need to pay when we create an extra burden on the landfill sites. I think we need to pause more and think about how we dispose of everything and how we can help reduce, recycle, or reuse before we fill up our waste sites. And that was part of our reasoning for bringing this to council.
Okay. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to request a recorded vote on this as well, just because I know you like them.
I know that Bill is looking down on you.
I know he is. But
Inside joke.
I disagree. I think that the amnesty load needs to go forward. And not a lot of people are using them, but there's a lot of dumping sites being created across the township. And we're going forward with a budget that really doesn't have a lot for the residents in it. And they seem to like the amnesty loads, the ones that do use it. And if we can avoid any type of roadside dumping, I'm in favor of that. Against trying to save the environment, making our area a more pleasant place to drive by and look at. And like they're dumping down in the south, they're dumping up in the north. We're getting bylaw involved. So it's not just the cost of filling a landfill. It's all the other extras that are going to be added to it, and the dumping will get worse if they're not allowed that freeload. And also, if anybody wants a freeload, they do have to go out of their way to go to the township or have them email them the permit to be able to take that. So they have to work for it a bit to begin with. So taking it, I just don't think that it's taking it away is a positive thing at all.
Okay. Bill and then Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In general, when we made tires free, the number of tires on the side of the road did not change. And when we made dryers and fridges and washers, the number of dryers, fridges, and it didn't change. Nothing has changed. Every time we've reduced a fee, it's the attitude of a certain person that keeps dumping it on the side of the road. It's
Okay. Susan.
I've always been in favor of the amnesty program, but you're quite right that people still continue to dump even with the amnesty program. I saw pictures from Arden. When I ride by horse on the various trails, I see dumping. I'm looking at the number of loads, and in 2017, we had 801. In 2021, we had 389 loads. We did go back up to 670 in 2022, but we've never got as high as we did in 2011, which was 946. So it just doesn't seem that many people are taking advantage of it.
And you can imagine what 900 new dumps does to a landfill site as far as filling up. Cindy.
So I'm in favor of keeping it because you don't get a lot for your tax dollars in the township, and it's a nice service for people to have that option. I know you say that there's stuff along the road, but even if you clean it up, say I have a dump on my property, you clean it up, it's still going to the landfill site. Anyway, you look at it, and now you're having the township people have time and their effort to clean that up and take it to the landfill. I just think it's a better option to have it so that people have that choice.
Okay. Dan, and then Philip, and then Bill.
I agree with the amnesty load. The only thing I heard from different people was instead of having it all in 1 week at their own discretion, they would be able to take the loads. Earth Day, I picked up 28 tires before tires were, allowed to be taken in. And since then, I haven't picked up one in the Earth Day that I do 3 kilometer strip. So I think it's working that way.
Who is next? Bill, Phil.
Thank you, Madam
Then
Mayor.
Bill.
I agree with some of the councilors' comments of it. You know, this is a service we're providing that the taxpayers don't get a lot other than roads and some other services. What I think I would maybe challenge staff with is if we're concerned about the program and the report indicates that some unacceptable waste is coming into the waste fill along with these loads, we need to look at what the program actually, how it's used and how we can implement it differently to ensure that those pieces don't end up in the waste site instead of just a truckload of everything.
Okay, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things. Firstly, it's less than 10% of the population that the other 90% are helping through their taxes in pretty much any given year. Staff expenses double in the summertime. So these dollar amounts are just the tipping fees that are lost. They don't include the extra sand coverage. They don't include the extra bulldozing or sheep's foot or extra staff. And they misuse it because they bring in trailer loads of stuff. They hide stuff in it. The guys are going through picking out hazardous waste and black bags because they don't have the staff to watch it. To me, it's just a terrible burden on the municipality and not that big a reward for the people.
Okay, Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Everett, you could say 10% to anybody. We could say that only 10% of the people are going to enjoy the Arden Road, but we're going to spend all kinds of money on it. So to discriminate that way against a program that many people do, like even 10% do use. I think our biggest problem is education. Like Councillor Clegg has said, we need to start educating the people again, maybe taking out an ad with budget money and saying, this is what we recycle, this is what we accept, and this is where you need to divert your other waste might be a good step forward as well.
Okay, anyone else? Dan?
If we did do whatever week, but people wanted to take their garbage, would that not lessen the burden on the dump attendant if you know, instead of doing it 1 week when everybody's gonna pile in there and take all their stuff, have it, so they can do it whenever they want it?
I think what I've heard, and I'll let Tyson answer that, I think it's more of a burden to be filling up or dealing with the waste on an ongoing basis than in a period of time. Tyson?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this, I can definitely agree with all the councilors' concerns with how we could improve the program for sure. And I think we'd have to bring extra staffing in to be able to continue the program just to monitor it better. What I find is that our attendants are so nice that we want to try to get everybody accommodated, but I had to tell them last year, like, we got them barrels and a white chain in between the barrels. And I just said, I don't care if the cars have to line up back until Highway 7, just you only let a manageable amount of people in at a time. That doesn't always happen. So yeah, we're gonna have to amp up staff and we might have to amp up supervision as well, which there's cost for that as well. But I think that's the number one improvement to our program, rather than changing all the dates that we advertise and everything. I think just better supervision and more staff. It is difficult either way though. And it would take a army of staff to try to dig. You can't dig through every truckload or dump trailer that comes in and try to predict what's inside of all the bags. But I think by taking it away, you don't even give that opportunity. It's just people will just think harder about, you know what, half the stuff that I'm going to bring in my amnesty load could have been recycled. And then this other half that's left over, you know, maybe I can fit that into clear township bags, and then it's only going to cost me the cost of a bag. I think it's got to be either continue the program the way we are with increased staffing, or just try a year without it, or I'm saying indefinitely in my report, but what if we tried a year without 1 year without the amnesty program?
Okay, Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In case the amnesty load program does go on, I would be very insistent on changing the word amnesty because it means free for all. And people accept it to mean that.
Good point.
Mhm.
Good point. Okay. We're going to call the question. And it's a recorded vote. Okay, we're going to start this time with Cindy Kelsey. So that is no,
This is to eliminate, that's right.
that's no. Yes, yes to eliminate it and no to not eliminate it. Okay, Craig Middleton.
No.
Philip Smith,
No.
Lynn. Bill Everett,
Yes.
Nikki,
No.
Susan Irwin. Danny Meeks
No.
and Fran Smith, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's defeated. Right? Is that right? Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Oh, Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 19 years I've been trying now to eliminate it.
Well, thank you, council. I know we had some tough discussions tonight, and what I present is what's I think is best long-term for our township, our landfills, our communities, our local contractors, but I understand it doesn't always add up for what we need with the political decisions we need to make, but I appreciate everybody taking the time. So thank you.
good comments. Lynn?
On a more positive note, before Tyson gets up, I just want to give a big thank you out to Noah, Tyson, and the Mountain Grove staff for all that they did at last month's meeting for waste management. I proposed getting a sign up out at the Highway 7 for the Olden site, waste site, the Olden Road waste site, and it's up and it looks great. And I think it's going to help guide people into that site much better. So thank you.
Good. Okay, all right, we're going to move on to administration procedural bylaw. Moved by Dan and seconded by Bill, that staff bring back the draft procedural bylaw incorporating the discussed amendments to the February 28th meeting. Discussion.
We have not received too many, have we, Cindy? Not any comments?
bylaw.
It's a big bylaw, so there is maybe at the February 28th, would you prefer that we just take some time and we go through section by section? We can certainly do that, do a couple sections just so that everybody understands in regards to the procedural bylaw and what works, because what we did is provide you with a copy of the existing one with the amendments and changes that we put it in red. So if you wish to do that, we can do that.
Susan?
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not responding to your question, Kathy. I'll leave that to others. But I did read through and I was very confused, and I talked with Cindy Deachman about committees. And because I read through it, and so for the Economic Development Committee, we would not be seen as a committee of council. This would not, the rules and procedures in this bylaw would not apply. And then I thought about some of the other committees and I wasn't sure. So I think more work needs to be done in that particular area. And if we did have the membership of the Economic Development Committee with 50% of the members, since we have of council, we have 5 citizens, we'd have a meeting, a council meeting. So work needs to be done in that area.
No, that's what I thought. It's certainly what was there before, and then we've made some amendments to it, and it is up for discussion. So it's not, this is a procedure bylaw for council to follow some of the rules. So we can certainly do it by, as I mentioned before, maybe do section by section and have a discussion as to which way you would like to see it.
And
go
we
forward.
don't even have to have it done by the 28th. We could move this, like, I don't know about you folks, but these budget meetings and all of the learning that everybody's done, if you were ready to quit, I wouldn't blame you because we have worked hard in the last 2 months The procedural bylaw is a very important bylaw, and I think one that we really do need to take some time and understand what's in there. So I wouldn't even mind moving it to the second meeting in March, give ourselves a bit of a break. We're okay with that? Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just gonna say, but in the meantime, if people just keep phoning Kathy or Cindy with comments, it's going to write itself anyway before we get to look at it again.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. If you have comments, pass them along, and then the second meeting in March, we'll actually spend some time about, here's what we're ending up with. Okay? So I'm just going to amend this to say, March, what's the date?
Would probably be the
Second
same-
meeting.
Would probably be March 28th. Aren't they the same things?
Is it?
usually?
Okay, I'm good. I don't have my phone, so
guessing.
I'm lost. Okay,
guessing.
so it's March 28th instead of February 28th. All those in favor? Carried.
Yes, usually February, and March, the same. For the dates. Is it? Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that the minutes of the Central Frontenac Trails Committee held January 26, 2023 be received for information. Any comments to make, Nikki, on that?
No, I think we're good. We're having a meeting again this Thursday and answering some more questions, and there'll be more information in the upcoming meetings.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Dan and seconded by Bill that the minutes of the Central Frontenac Washroom Facilities Committee held January 26, 2023 be received for information. Philip,
So I just noted in the minutes that there was engineering work approved and done for $2,400. And not that I don't think the work should have been done or we investigate further about the washroom facility. I just don't understand how a committee that has no budget was able to approve.
it's through Mr. Tyson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith, every year we have an engineering budget in the Public Works operating budget for planning of projects or possible projects in future years, and that's the one that we used.
So Rhodes did take that on as part of moving this forward. Okay,
Because they don't have the right to.
they're simply asking council to do the study, and the money is there for it.
But it probably should have come through, and I think Councillor Smith is correct in what his assumption of that. It probably should have said more in regards to that they, through the Public Works, instead of directing them. I think that's a better way of
Okay.
putting it.
So we'll have to get the washroom committee to change their wording.
For sure.
Okay, anyway, all those in favor? Carried. Just remember, this committee is also going to be looking at helping to fund big time this building. Okay, moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Philip Smith, that the minutes of the CPAC meeting held September the 19th, 2022 be received for information. Discussion. All those in favor? That was quite a while ago now. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the minutes of the District 2 Recreation Committee meeting held February 5th, 2023 be received for information. Dan, anything to add? You are too, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, they did get the ice up and running, so that was great.
Yes.
And there was skating there, and we had a great meeting, 5th. And what we did find out was, we were going to have a volleyball tournament, and just to rent the school was almost $600 for the day just to have a local volleyball tournament for the kids, which was very disappointing to find that out.
Nikki can talk to this better than I, but that was about 3 years ago that they brought that in, that no longer is it a community school. It's a community school only if you can pay the price of the rental, which is huge, which is why North Frontenac Little Theater is here. It's sad.
Yeah, it's very disappointing.
Anyway, it looks great.
But on that note, On that note, Dan, they'll want to use your ice surface for nothing.
You might, through you, Madam Mayor, Dan, you might want to pair with your local parent council to get a waiving of the fees. So if you're a parent council at a school, they'll waive the rental fees of the gym for them to have an event. So maybe if you'd really feel strongly about your event, pair with the parent council at Land O'Lakes or Grec and do a fundraiser that way.
So it's the loophole.
It's the loophole.
Or
Good.
discrimination, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, all those in favor of the minutes? Carried. It's a shame, though, that school sits there empty so many hours of the day and communities cannot utilize it, which when it was built, it was going to be the community school. So maybe that's one we'll take up in our next term. Okay, moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Philip Smith, that the minutes of the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance Board meeting held October the 6th, 2022, the 2023 budget and the EOTA newsletter be received for information. Questions, comments? Well, I guess you weren't there in October, right, Craig?
Yeah, no, I wasn't there in October. I finally attended my first meeting with them last week, I guess. I think it's gonna be a good working crew. They seem to have lots of projects on the go for this year, and majority of that's gonna be bridges. There's 2 bridges in our part of Trail Central Frontenac, one by Brewers Road and one by Arden that's on the books to be replaced. I got a whole bunch of more paperwork to read and try and get my head wrapped around it, but yeah.
Good for you. Good. All
that's
right.
about it.
All those in favor? Carried. Was there any questions or comments from anybody? I didn't ask. No, we're good. All right. Next.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just a question. Councillor Smith just made me think of something based on the school, but are we getting the revenue from filling the tank at the school now? The previous council had decided that we would, instead of being so generous as having our fire department fill that water tank all the time, we were going to start to charge them. So has that been included in the budget, and are we getting any of that revenue?
No, we are not, because we don't do it now at all, period.
Okay.
Okay, so, because when I wrote the letter back, remember, that was years ago, and it said that I told them that, but they decided not to ask for our services, and they're getting it elsewhere, so they have to pay.
Okay. That bill will come in the next parts of our budgets. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the following correspondence be received, and it's 1 to 8. That's in our package. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Public meetings, bylaws. Is there any notices of motion?
No, there are not.
Any giving of notices of motion?
I know there are not.
Any new or other business?
No, Madam
I
Mayor.
have something,
Oh,
and I'm sorry I didn't do this in the very beginning. But last week, we lost Bob Harvey, who was our barber for 50 years here. And interesting, the posts on Facebook of their kids getting their hair cut in Bob's chair. And these kids are now probably 30, 35 years old. So our hearts go out to the Harvey family. The barber shop, we might have to change, we might have to put a name to that barber shop. Bob's Place Roads Issues, or I don't know. But certainly Bob put in a lot of years around this table in this hall as a counselor as well. So we're thinking about the Harveys, and also Hazel McCallion today being buried on her birthday of 102 years old. And if any of us wonder why we get into this business, I think Hazel is a representative of somebody who loved what she did, and she did it every day. It wasn't a 9-to-5 job, like our job is not a 9-to-5 job. So our thoughts are with that family as well. All right. Yes.
A cute story about Hazel McCallion and our Cindy Kelsey. Cindy and I met her in August in Ottawa. And the tip she told us, she said, oh, you young girls really need to follow my lead. But the tip is when you go to a conference, bring a big bag because you take every free thing home. And Cindy has taken that to heart.
Yes, if you met Hazel at all, you would certainly remember her. I remember at a conference where this young person had done this big presentation and she went over to talk to him at the end and she said, I just want to tell you young whippersnippers that there are some of us here that have been around for a while. So she always had something to say. All right, we have a closed session.
Yes.
Moved by Nikki and seconded by Philip, that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss the following. And it's one, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, purchase of property, Titchburn, section 239(2)C. All those in favor? Carried. Okay.